Thank you all for joining us this evening. This event is a very special event for the School of Public Affairs and Administration, as it represents the launch of our newly developed Center for Nonprofit Leadership and Development.
Yes.
That was the start.
This is going to be participatory.
Participatory, yeah. So my name is Lindsey McDougle, and I am currently serving as the director of the center. I'm also a faculty member here in SPA. I just want to thank you again because this is an exciting chapter, not only for our school, but also for our community. This event marks the beginning of a journey to position the center as the go-to resource for data and information on New Jersey's nonprofit sector. The center, our vision is to offer certificate programs, eventually degree programs, and all of the information that a nonprofit organization might need to be effective here in our state. And so this event is particularly relevant to those of you who are students. I think we have a majority audience are students. So this event is particularly relevant to you because it represents the real impact that nonprofit organizations can have on our communities and the impact that you as future or current leaders of nonprofit organizations can also have. So this conversation, we want to provide insight into leadership, the role of data in decision-making, and practical advice for working in and with nonprofit organizations. And from this conversation, we hope that you will leave with actionable ideas and a deeper understanding of the nonprofit landscape. So with that brief introduction, I am honored today to have Natasha Hemmings have this fireside chat with us this evening.
With a real fire.
With a real fire and fire.
With a real fire for us.
Natasha has an incredible background in nonprofit leadership. And I should also say she is an alum of the NTA program here at Rutgers Center. Now, some of you are students of Natasha's, but I'm not sure if you are aware. But Natasha is the first African-American woman to lead the council in the history of the organization. Prior to becoming CEO, she served as Chief Marketing and Communications Officer for the Girl Scouts of Central and Southern New Jersey. And as CEO of this fantastic organization, Natasha holds the most senior leadership role with significant strategic and supervisory responsibilities for the second largest Girl Scout council in the state of New Jersey, with an annual budget of nearly $10 million. For Natasha, it's a lot. Absolutely. So Natasha has a wealth of experience, and I'm sure that her knowledge today, the information that she shares with us, is going to be invaluable and further our understanding. Before I get into the conversation with Natasha, I do want to say there is coffee and pastries in the back. If you all are wanting to partake in the coffee, please feel free to get some and return to your seat.
Okay.
So with that, let's start off with our conversation.
Yes.
So Natasha, could you share a little bit about your journey to becoming CEO of Girl Scouts Heart of New Jersey and what inspired you to take on this leadership position?
So next year is going to be my 25th year in Girl Scouting as a career Girl Scout. And in 2012, my mentor, who was the CEO of Girl Scouts of Central and Southern New Jersey, retired. And we were at a board retreat up in upstate New York, and she had given me the opportunity to do all kinds of things in Girl Scouting in the 16 years that I had worked for her. And 12 years that I had worked for her. And she made her announcement, and then she told everyone on the board that I was to be her successor. Fast forward, I didn't get the job.
Well,
right? Went through rounds of interviews, sat with the search committee, several presentations later, and these were a group of people who had seen my work for the 12 years prior. Wrote every speech that ever came out of my CEO's mouth, did you name it. And what it came down to in 2012 was that I was the finalist in the search process, but the thing that separated me from the other two final candidates was that I didn't have an advanced degree. I didn't have a master's degree. I didn't have an MBA. And so I made a promise to myself that that would never be the reason again. It would happen again. And so I started here at SPA immediately after that. And when I graduated in 2016, the then CEO resigned and left the organization. And so I started the trek again to apply. I had told stories of Girl Scouts from me being the chief marketing communications officer, and given reports to grantors and foundations of the impact of Girl Scouting over all of those years. And I had no idea that it would culminate into me being a CEO. So the best advice that I gave my mentees at the time was, let somebody tell you no, and see if that puts a fire under your feet to get what you know is yours.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's funny how that happens, right? So you did everything, writing the speeches, and the one thing you didn't have was the degree.
Right. Right. So it's interesting that a piece of paper, right? No one can take that degree away from me after I received it. And the work that I did with all of my coursework, all of the coursework that you all are doing, is going to position you to get the dream job that you want, or the dream volunteer position that you want, because you have the experience in your coursework to be able to tackle these huge community problems.
And I'm happy that you mentioned that. So many people, you just see it on social media, question the value of a college degree. And I'm very happy to hear you say that that was the determining factor for you taking on this role.
Mm-hmm.
So moving to my second question, how does Girl Scouts Heart of New Jersey use data and research to inform your program and decision-making?
So we use data in a number of ways at Girl Scouts Heart of New Jersey. When I started as CEO, I used data to decide where my new emerging markets team that I created was going to go out into the community to recruit volunteers, to do memorandum of understanding with different school districts. We use census data and school data to figure out where girls were from kindergarten through 12th grade, and compare it to where we were already serving girls that had members. So looking at the market data to say, you know what? Here in the city of Newark, there were over 26,000 girls of Girl Scouting age from kindergarten to 12th grade. And we were serving as a council less than 1%. We had 124 Girl Scouts here in the city of Newark in traditional troops. With 26,000 girls in the available age, it made sense that we needed to make decisions of where to do recruitments and how I should assign staff based on what the gap was, what the void was. So we did that for 6 cities. Very proud of the work that emerging markets team did. And now today we can say we have over 1,200 Girl Scouts just here in the city of Newark alone.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So what are some challenges then that you faced when you've collected and analyzed data for Girl Scouts New Jersey?
Well, presenting the data in a way that our board would understand, right? Because I'm governed by a board of directors. And in order for them to help us strategically give resources to different departments to approve our budget, they have to understand the data. They had to understand that we had a gap in what we were delivering to girls as far as memberships were concerned, as well as what the potential of what we could do. And they need to do resource allocation in order for us to reach more girls, reach more families. And that's been the biggest challenge, the part that helping people meet them where they are, but understand the data that is driving the decisions that we're making. It also happens in the funding world, right? Funders want more than the numbers. They want more than the number of members, right? Because students will tell you the membership numbers is just a count. But when you look at impact, you have to look at how the counts are being impacted, how the lives are being impacted. And I think that's been one of the strengths of my tenure as CEO, is that I tie back the impact to every position that we put in place, to every story that is told. We just launched our annual appeal, our annual campaign, which is set to raise $30,000. In order for me to hit the right people at the right time during Thanksgiving week, all the letters went out. In order for me to share the stories of 5 girls over these next 5 weeks, I had to make sure that I was analyzing the data in order for us to then follow up with them to say, okay, well, you don't want to receive this annual appeal on paper. There are others in different generations that receive their information differently. So we have to look at the data also there to decide, okay, how does this donor want to receive information? What's the best way for them to receive it so that they will take action? So driving people through the impact of our girls, the impact of our program, for them to take action and do something.
And I'm glad that you mentioned stories. I know we have some PhD students in here and probably some students who are working on their capstone portfolios or research projects. And you mentioned that, data can only tell you so much, right? And you talk about the stories. How significant do you think it is that you include both those stories along with the data that you present?
So it's critical. And some of my students who are here will tell you, we worked on a project in my class, Resource Development for Nonprofits, all about them telling the story, right? We did a mock, we call it a mock assignment where they were asking Mackenzie Scott's Foundation for several $1 million for a nonprofit of their choice. And each one of them had to tell a compelling story within their assignment. Analysts who are getting grant applications want to know more than just the numbers. They want to know how the stories that are tied to the numbers are causing a positive impact on people's lives. So the stories, because my background is in marketing and communications and that I rose it made sense that the stories follow the data, or sometimes the stories lead the data.
Yeah, absolutely. So then how do you measure success? What are the metrics or the indicators that you use to let you know that whatever you're doing is working?
So we survey girls who are doing Girl Scout programming. We survey them before they take a program, and then we survey them after. We survey their parents before they are engaged in the program as well as after, and compare the outcomes. Girl Scouts runs on 5 outcomes, and every single program that we deliver is attached in some way to those 5 outcomes that overall the Girl Scout leadership experience does or changes the lives of girls in that way. So our operational goals and objectives are tied to revenue. They're tied to operational excellence. So operational excellence may include tenure of our staff and turnover. Happy staff people aren't going to leave you after 6 months or a year. If you're developing your staff, they're not going to just, up and leave. So those defined objectives and goals for our council are really what drive us. And we monitor them on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis with our board, and obviously on an annual basis. Membership numbers going up and down, where the membership distribution is spread is an important thing for us to watch. But it's just as important for us to make sure that we are giving our staff their professional development in order for them to not just feel good about what they're doing, but know that we're investing in them.
So I know that, I said in my introduction that you are leading one of the largest Girl Scout councils, the second largest in the state. And obviously, Girl Scouts, you all are just one organization. what role does collaboration play in the work that you do? How do you work with government and other nonprofit organizations to meet these outcomes and these indicators?
So I'm so glad that you asked that question, because collaboration is one of the things that my students and I have been talking about as well, that nobody goes alone, right? So the folks that we are collaborating with are the ones that help us achieve success. We didn't get to this 1,200 Girl Scouts here in the city of Newark without collaboration with the Newark Board of Education. We approached them about collaborating because we had a shortage of volunteers here in the city. What that means is that we have wait lists of girls who are in kindergarten to 12th grade who want to be Girl Scouts but can't because there's no leader to lead them. So this memorandum of understanding that we signed with the Newark Board of Education has them put some skin in the game, and Girl Scouts put skin in the game, meaning they give teachers in the after-school hours stipends to be Girl Scout leaders, right? So they are giving just a little bit to teachers who are already in after-school programs, and Girl Scouting comes through with the membership fees for the girl to be a Girl Scout, as well as for the leader to lead. And we give them program dollars and their uniforms. So girls here in the city of Newark get it all, and they're with a trusted advisor, trusted leader within the school system. So that kind of collaboration where the school wins, the students win, the parents win, and Girl Scouts win, it makes it a win-win all around. We are opening up a Girl Scout Leadership Center down on Broad Street, and that is going to take a great deal of collaboration. It's not just going to be a space and a hub for Girl Scouts to come. It's going to be a family space. Right now, up the street, they're doing stakeholder interviews with Girl Scouts and community leaders so that when we build out the space and open it up to the community, that it has what it needs, not just for the girls, but for the greater Newark community.
And I'm sure that took a ton of data to find that out, right?
It really did. And the data that we're collecting from them now, qualitative data that we're collecting from older Girl Scouts, younger Girl Scouts, from their families, parents, from La Casa and Victoria Foundation, and, you know, not just girls who want to be Girl Scouts or girls who are Girl Scouts, but the wider community. We have interviewed several chefs. We have a chef's commercial kitchen in the Girl Scout Leadership Center. And so we're going to be doing programming there. And we're talking to chefs and entrepreneurs around the city. There's going to be a retail operation there. So girls will learn how to run a store, as well as their badge and patch programs that they'll earn. They'll learn how to work with an entrepreneur to put in, kind of like you do in a museum, an installation in the retail operation that the older girls who are a part of our council will, in effect, collaborate with the entrepreneur to put Newark's own merchandise within the store. And it'll be driven by girls and their ideas and girls and their skills and leadership skills that they are learning as being a part of the Girl Scout movement.
That's fantastic.
So
Great for you all.
it's going to be a wonderful center. I've invited all of my students. I will invite all of you. We're at 375 McCarter Highway. There'll be a big grand opening in April, but right now are all of the community stakeholder, we're calling them community charrettes. We're working with a developer and a designer so that the space will have all of what our Girl Scouts need to thrive in it. So it's going to be informed, though, by the community. I just put out the information about when the community charrettes are happening in December, just this morning on my LinkedIn. So go check out my LinkedIn so that you all can see that invitation. But you're all invited to participate in that event, those events.
I hope you all check it out. It sounds fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about COVID, right? So COVID was an event, unprecedented event that changed everyone's lives, and I'm sure had an impact on Girl Scout New Jersey. What was the impact of COVID on you all?
So on March 12th, 2020 is when COVID shut this world down. And I was standing in the lobby of Shackamaxon Country Club putting out auction items when the governor's announcement came across that said, if you are having a gathering this evening of more than 200 people, you need to cancel it. Any gatherings over, I think it was like 120 people, this is before we were all wearing masks and everything. You need to cancel that event because there's this thing called the COVID pandemic, and it's hitting us from all sides. Broadway shut down on March 12th, everything shut down. And I had to make the decision we had 225 people coming. I had to make the decision to stop the event, postpone the event, pack up all the auction items, and start the calling and emailing and texting so that people wouldn't converge on Shackamaxon that evening. That was day one. We had been in the process of closing our Montclair office and moving the 12 staff people that were in Montclair to virtual. We had been in that process. So what COVID did was speed that up, because then instead of coming to the office the following Monday, those staff people had already had their laptops and connected to the server. And so because that work had been done as our move was preparing us for it, it made it so much easier to take the other 45 people that I had on staff to virtual immediately. So we turned what was a really uneasy time, confusing time, like I'm not sure what's going to happen, to very quickly move online. Our programs went online. Programs for girls went online. Everything went online, similar to the way that schools did, and we had the technology that was able to support us. What that meant for fund development, though, was that event, we needed to then take the information that we had collected on our guests and speak to each of them individually. I literally, as a CEO, got on the phone with every single person in the week that followed COVID to talk with them about what this kind of shutdown will do for the Girl Scout leadership experience.
Do you think it made you more effective as a leader?
I think that the personal touch, that personal call, I wrote personal notes to people that I couldn't reach on the phone, really, it had a positive effect on not just that event, but our next event after COVID was so well attended because of that personal reach out. It also allowed me time with donors that you wouldn't normally get at an event, right? At an auction kind of event, you're milling around, it's very cordial, hi. When calling someone on the phone and telling them, okay, this is how we're recovering from COVID, and talking to them about how they're doing, it really made other nonprofits weren't doing that, right?
I believe it, yeah.
And so it gave me the opportunity to have stewardship time with donors who came because they wanted to support Girl Scouts. And then the question then became, well, how can I still help? So
let me ask you this. So there are probably a lot of students in this room, or many students in this room, who aspire to take a leadership role in a nonprofit organization, maybe a nonprofit organization as large as Girl Scouts New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
To me, just listening to you, it sounds like you put a lot of time into your job.
Do.
How much effort does it really take to run an organization like Girl Scouts?
It takes, my job is 24/7. I have to be intentional about taking time for myself. But I think our success has come because I set a vision and I have a staff that is brilliant, right? You surround yourself with people who know better than you how to do, and you learn from them. We're all learning from each other. So I never expected to take on this role by myself. I'm not the only fundraiser. I'm not the only operations person. I'm not the only marketing person. I have built a team. We have built a team that cares about not just their area of expertise, but they care about the other areas as well. So it does take a lot of work, but I'm from Barbados. So the Caribbean in me means that I know how to work hard. And you have to work for what it is that you want. As definitive as I am about that, I am also definitive about taking time for yourself to recharge. I gave my students a mental health recovery week at the midpoint of the semester, intentionally, with no assignments, no homework. It's the midpoint of the semester. Stop, pause, take care of yourself.
Yeah, we need that. We all need that.
Yeah, because we can get into these jobs and pour our heart and minds and souls into them. But I am determined that the person who succeeds me will have an easier time because I took the lumps that they can avoid.
Well, speaking about succeeding, is there anything relating to nonprofit data or research that you think is coming as the next big thing or the future of data and research in the nonprofit sector? What is going to succeed our current iteration?
I think that AI is going to have a huge impact on the reliability and viability of our data. I also want to make sure that as I'm leaving this seat, that the person who steps into this role has as much respect for data and data integrity as I have had. When you come into a role like this, there is no shortage of information. It's what information is going to be important for you and where you see yourself going, what information needs to be collected, what data needs to inform those decisions is what I think we're going to need, some help with, some struggle with. I'm a mentor for the 9 new Girl Scout CEOs from around the country and talking with them at their onboarding boot camp about what to pay attention to from the very beginning, to what things they need to be delegating to their staff that they can just come back to them, to what information, just park that over here when you have some free time to look at it, because that's not what's going to drive your business. Most Girl Scout councils, their revenue, 60 to 70% of their revenue comes from those boxes of Girl Scout cookies over there.
Really?
Yes. Our program is funded by Girl Scout cookies to the tune of about $3.4 million a year. Right? And so it was important for me, as new leadership is coming on, to say to them, you need to watch your cookie bottom line. You need to watch your contracts negotiation. You need to make sure that your incentive plan for girls is, filled with experiences or filled with whatever it is that is going to drive your girls' success. You need to make sure that that's included in your plan, because if it's not, then girls can just sit out. Not only are they then not learning the 5 basic skills of the Girl Scout cookie program, but they're also not funding the council's operation.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, but I had no idea that Girl Scout cookies brought in that amount of revenue.
Oh, just my council alone is about $3.4 million a year. So to add on to that, that's why my fund development team and arm is so critical for us at this point, because as we're building this leadership center here in Newark, I need to launch a capital campaign that's going to raise another $5 million. Because what I have promised girls and what I have promised my board is that I don't want to use Girl Scout cookie proceeds to fund that center for the next 10 years. I want it to be adult-generated income with adults who care about girls' leadership and empowerment and are willing to invest in girls.
So I think maybe it might be myself only. When people hear the $3 million, $5 million number, it gets intimidating. How do you not become intimidated by working on such large initiatives and projects with such a large organization?
if you don't set your goals high, you will never achieve them. If you don't ask for what you know the program is worth, you'll never get it. Mm-hmm. So I tend not to shy away from talking those numbers, because there was a time when I did, if I said like $5 million, I would stutter. It would be like nerve-wracking. Now that's what we need in order to support girls. And are you willing to invest in girls? And if the answer is yes, it may not be 5 million today, but it could be 5,000. And it's for me to shape the story that comes with, what does that $5,000 investment for you look like this week? And I also am very careful not to price people out, not to be in people's pockets so that I say, I look at you and just assume that you don't have. I can't do that, right? I don't know who you know that knows somebody who has $5 million. It could be one person that could just write the check, and 10 years of Girl Scout leadership programming, 365 days a year could be paid for. And then think about the impact that the lives that are touched because of that $5 million, what that's going to mean over the course of 10 years.
And even some of our students in here, I'm sure some of you may go on to do fantastic, or all of you may go on to do fantastic things. Some of you may be future donors to Girl Scouts New Jersey. You could be the $5 million donor.
You could be.
That's what you could be. Absolutely. And so this event is marking the launch of the new Rutgers Center for Nonprofit Leadership and Development. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm just curious, for my own purposes, what does an organization like Girl Scout, what might you need from a research center? What type of information or resources would be valuable for a center to offer?
That's a great question. A lot. Let me focus in on like maybe two things.
Okay.
Because Girl Scouts of the USA had a Girl Scout leadership, had a research institute. Girl Scout Research Institute was a national group out of New York that did all kinds of research on the outcomes of Girl Scout alum. They did all of the studies on women who are in leadership positions in Fortune 500 companies, and finding out that through the background checks and all that stuff, that the top 10 women who were leading corporations were all Girl Scouts. Every astronaut that went into space that's a female was a Girl Scout. So all of those numbers and data points and statistics came from the Girl Scout Research Institute. The Research Institute is no more. So what I would be looking for as a nonprofit leader is some work on the state of girls, state of young people in the state of New Jersey. So we are, bless you, as a collaborative here in New Jersey, the 4 Girl Scout councils have come together and hired a consultant to do a State of the Girls report. Mm-hmm. I would love to be able to come to Rutgers to get some of that research, as well as we're a leadership development organization. So what kinds of programs that we are running that Rutgers could help us with curriculum, perhaps curriculum development, so that we are instilling in girls the skills and experiences that they need to be the future leaders of the state.
Okay, so a final question that I have for you is, what do you like most about working with Girl Scouts New Jersey? What is your most favorite?
I love girls' stories. I love girl stories. I love seeing them grow up in Girl Scouting and learn how to identify a problem in their community, how to come up with a solution, how to network with the people in the community to solve that problem and for them to do it in a way that makes it sustainable so that their community benefits. One of the Girl Scouts who gave me my first welcome call to welcome me as the CEO in 2018. His name is Olivia Altador. She was 11 years old, and she was nominated by the girls in her troop out in Hillsborough to call me on my first day and to say welcome. Fast forward, Olivia is a freshman at Pace University in New York on a full ride, full academic scholarship to Pace. She called me 2 weeks ago to be interviewed by a group of students as they are working on their ethics and leadership coursework. That fact that she could still call me to help her with her studies is what I think I get up for every day. It's the fact that I have had a positive impact on a young person's life and that I can see it, not just then in 2018 when she knew nothing about me, but to see that I've been a positive influence and a positive part of her life now that she's in college.
I know you bring a lot of, you're very into research. Is there any field or any particular area where you think you could make an improvement on, and if so, then what steps are you taking? Because you mentioned AI before. You have somebody on board and just their higher role in day-to-day. It's just finding different roles for AI, different uses for AI, ways that they can be implemented for the Girl Scouts.
That's a great question. I don't currently have anyone on staff who is using AI in there every day in order to inform decisions that we're making. However, in our fund development department, fund development arm, we used AI and research on our newest honorees for our Women of Vision event. We have a Women of Vision Awards breakfast every year in May. And the intern who was working with fund development used web searches and donor searches in order to identify those individuals who had been nominated to be honorees for this coming year. Sometimes AI is hit or miss. You can't trust it, 100%. But it is a starting point for research on individuals, especially if you don't have a large enough organization that you have a donor prospecting, not just database, but a donor prospecting tool to be able to help you reach different high net worth individuals who might be interested in giving to your cause, or who might already be giving to your cause and you just don't know. There are, in our council's footprint, the 7 counties, there are high net worth individuals who have been giving to youth programs or have been giving anonymously to early childhood education, but without having the researchers in place at nonprofits, even as large as ours. I don't have anyone on staff doing research 24/7. So I would love to see that change for us as a council. We just announced 3 new positions, 3 in fund development, and one of them is a database research analyst.
Is there a particular area where you would like to see growth in, or the Girl Scouts?
Adult-generated income.
Mm-hmm.
Resource development. We're about to launch a capital campaign. It is going to take a considerable amount of money in order to keep the center open.
Mm-hmm.
And so that research is going to be critical to find and match potential donors and potential foundations who believe in girls' leadership and empowerment programs. I also am... We've been on a PR campaign to talk about the Leadership Center in the newspaper. A couple of weeks ago, I was on Sandra Bookman's Here and Now on ABC TV talking about the Leadership Center and what it's going to give to not just this community, but to the girls whose lives it's going to change forever. I got through that whole interview. It was a wonderful, she's a brilliant journalist. Realized after the fact that I didn't tell people we still needed to fundraise for the center. It made it sound like, oh, it's bought and paid for. It's a lock. So the campaign that I'm going on now with the help of my board members and staff is to spread the word about the Leadership Center and what we're doing, that it's the first one of its kind in the U.S., in an urban city.
Yep.
And so very different model that we are working with, and it has the potential to inspire other urban areas to be connected to Girl Scouts in a way that is going to change their communities.
That's fantastic. So while you all are thinking of questions, I know you have other questions. I'm wondering what sort of characteristics or qualifications might you look for in a student or a recent graduate who are trying to get their foot in the door at an organization like Girl Scouts? So you mentioned that having that degree was the thing that got you the CEO position, but I believe you were already in the organization, right?
I was already in the organization. When I started at Girl Scouting 25 years ago, I started as a marketing and communications manager who had membership as well. I built membership in New Brunswick and Perth Amboy, right? Two very different cities in that council's footprint. And I also was responsible for all marketing, PR, communications, internal and external. So my job was a pretty big job, but over the first 5 years, I had no profit and loss responsibility. I had none, no profit and loss responsibility. And in order to be an executive in a nonprofit, you have to know how and where your money is coming from. And you have to know at the end of the year or before the end of the year, how you're going to survive the next year. So that experience gave me a really good grounding for then seeking out opportunities. So as students, I will tell you to seek out the opportunities that you know you want for your future. If you want to be a researcher, seek out volunteer opportunities with a nonprofit that is looking for someone to do research. If you are interested in fundraising or in resource development, seek out an internship, perhaps with a for-profit, with a foundation who's giving money so that you can learn from the other side. There are so many opportunities for students. What I struggle with is the follow-up and the follow-through. You will meet someone and they'll say, you should connect with me on LinkedIn, or give me a call and let's talk about da-da-da, and you go on with your life in school and never call them, never connect with them on LinkedIn, never, reach out, never add the value to the initial conversation that you had. So if you take nothing away from what I said tonight, follow up and follow through. Follow up and follow through, because people aren't just telling you, reach out to me on LinkedIn for their help. They have plenty of people that they could be talking to, but take advantage of those opportunities when they are offered to you. And some opportunities that aren't offered to you, you should ask for it. It's a way of teaching resilience, and that's why there's so much more than a box of cookies.
Other questions? Oh, we'll hear.
What's my name is Lindsey McDougle. We unfortunately never had a class together, but I really just enjoy that you're having this fireside chat and that you're talking to all us MBA students here. And I just want to say personally, I've always noticed Girl Scouts in more suburban areas, right? Selling the cookies outside of supermarkets and, CVS's and stuff like that. I just wanted to come back to the fact how you said you were able to get so much more interaction and buy-in in an urban area such as in Newark, such as in New Brunswick, or for example. And you said you had some experience in communication and marketing. I just wanted you to go back and touch a little bit upon those skills that you use to get not only the kids to buy it, but get the parents to buy it.
Thank you, Izzy, for that question. How I get parents to buy in is talking with parents about what you want for your children. What is it that you want for your child? And then doing some synergy check. If what you want for your child is leadership, or what you want for your child is to advocate for themselves, let me introduce you to the Girl Scout Civic Engagement Badges. Let me introduce you to what Girl Scout values and what Girl Scout has to offer, so that you can see that we're not so far apart, and that if you just try it, have your child try it to see if it matches what you want for that child. So that's where the success has come in with recruiting. And most of the time, people want what Girl Scouts has to offer. They just don't know that that's what Girl Scouts is really about. They think at face value that Girl Scouts is about cookies or camping or crafts, right? Those are the 3 C's that most people think about when they think about Girl Scouts. And I turn that around and say, yes, those are the things that girls do in Girl Scouts, but they're also learning courage. They're learning confidence. And they're learning what character. Those are the 3 C's that I have been able to have parents learn what Girl Scouting really is about. So changing people's perceptions of what Girl Scouting is about, and how we've done that, again, is through girl stories. You know, hearing the story from a girl about how she's learned how to deal with disappointment and then, you know, lift herself back up again to try something that was so hard. That's really what Girl Scouting is all about.
So we have time for 1 or 2 more.
Yeah, my question was sort of related to Izzy's. You mentioned how the new leadership center is going to be like one of the only of its kind in an urban city. Now, I was wondering, like, what kind of stigmas do you think are associated with like the type of work your organization does in a city like Newark, and how does your organization use the data to combat that stigma?
So let's unpack that question.
I know it's a lot.
But a good question.
Yeah, but it is a great question. For me, being a SPA alum, choosing SPA as my place that I was going to learn and grow and get my MPA, I learned how wonderful and beautiful and complex and just magnificent the city is. The more I can do in my role as CEO to share the majesty of the city of Newark through the girls that we serve, the more people will be converted to come to Newark, to see Newark as a place of magic and of experience. Girl Scouts were here long before I became CEO, right? It just made sense to marry the two for me here in Newark because of the number of girls who weren't Girl Scouts, but who could benefit from the program. So the data, the census data, the school data that we looked at initially to choose Newark as one of the 6 cities, it just made sense. And I often wondered, well, with my predecessors, why they never looked to Newark as a place to call home. Now that I'm changing our corporate address to the city of Newark, it also opens us up to a whole, slew of people and corporations who thought they knew what Girl Scouting was about, and that they are open to investing in the power of girls together. I don't think that this is going to be the only urban center there is. I've invited all 110 other Girl Scout CEOs and their board chairs to come to see the Leadership Center when we do the ribbon cutting in April. And so whether they are in an urban center, near an urban center, I want them to see what the power of girls together in the center is going to do with this community. Notice I didn't say for this community. I said with this community. It's a legacy project for me. It's more than a project.
That's wonderful, and I'm excited to see that April.
April 2025 is going to be the official ribbon cutting. I have to say thank you to Senator Cory Booker, who gave us the first $500,000 to fund the center back in 2022 when I was whispering about we need to have this center. We need, this center here for girls is going to change the game outside of school hours. So he believed in me, he believed in us, and gave us $500,000 of federal appropriations money. Because of the work and the growth that we had here in this urban center, Mackenzie Scott chose Girl Scouts Heart of New Jersey to give $1.8 million to, because she saw the work that we were doing as valuable. And I got that phone call, and it was like $1.8 million of unrestricted money because you believe in the power of Girl Scouting here in the city of Newark and here in urban. Like, there are people who, once they hear what it is that we're doing, are going to want to be a part of the success story that we're telling here.
No, congratulations. I didn't know that you were one of the Mackenzie Scott.
Girl Scouts Heart of New Jersey was the only Girl Scout council in the state of New Jersey that got Mackenzie Scott funding. So we're very, very proud, but it also means that we have to do more good. Like, we have to do more of what she sees, what our other supporters and foundation and donors sees as positive. Victoria Foundation is another foundation here in New Jersey that just Saturday gave us a $75,000 grant award to unrestricted for us to do more good. So when you're doing good, when you do more of that good and you have a positive impact on the community, people are watching.
Absolutely.
And listening to each other. And so I really hope that each of you take 10 minutes, go down the block and see what's happening at the Leadership Center, and know that you are all invited to be a part of our community charrettes. The QR code is on my LinkedIn, so please connect with me. What's going to happen after y'all leave here? That's right. Please, let's do a follow up. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and get involved with what's happening here in the city. My nonprofit is not the only nonprofit, right? My students will tell you they've chosen some fantastic nonprofits for the coursework that we've been doing in resource development. So there is a nonprofit that will speak to you, or several nonprofits that speak to you. Ask yourself what you're going to give back to them, how you're going to level up the impact that you have for them.
Well, this has been an insightful and an inspiring conversation. I want to thank Natasha for her time and speaking with us this evening. And for those of you who are considering careers in the nonprofit sector, potentially in the future, currently, I hope that this has provided you with insight into the importance of data-driven decision-making, being mission-driven, collaboration, and the importance of leadership. All of these things, hopefully, that you are taking away from your courses in either your PhD program, your MPA program, if we have any undergraduates in here, your undergraduate majors as well. I want to thank Natasha again for her time.